Well, hello everyone. I'm Brian. For those of you who are following me on my Twitch stream, thank you so much for joining me today on this December 31st, last day of the year. If you are in, let me see where. Oh, let's see. Happy New Year if you're in the Asia Pacific region, because it looks like it is currently 2:30 a.m. in Taipei. Taiwan. And if you're in Mumbai, Happy New Year. So there you go. It's like so according to this, it's two after midnight there. So wow, yeah. I'm actually not bad. Okay, so like I said, I'm trying something new. It's not a New Year's resolution, but I've been wanting to try this for a while, and one of the New Year's resolutions is I'm going to stop trying to overthink things. So there you go. That's something. Also, I'm doing a stream at 10:30 in the morning on a Saturday, which is also something I've never done before. And to add to the complexity, I'm also streaming this on YouTube and LinkedIn at the same time using a see right here. So you see, oh wait, there you go. See, I'm actually streaming this bad boy on our YouTube channel, which I believe is like youtube.com/c/breaksec. I think so. But yeah, and I'm actually trying. I started this on because I'm using this, which is Sorayuki's obs-multi-rtmp, which currently, according to the output here, is running at about 60 frames a second on both YouTube and LinkedIn. I'm still figuring out all the logistics of this. I didn't want to use something like Restreamer or any of that other junk because I wasn't exactly sure what it would do to your stream viewing this, or the ability to control where it's going or how it's being routed through the internets. So I'm testing these things out. I'm trying to figure out how to. That's me. Trying to figure out how to see it on LinkedIn. I haven't figured that out yet. It's not as straightforward on LinkedIn as it is elsewhere. So it's not like, hey, go here for that. Hey, Walter, what's going on? Walter is one of our subscribers. So those of you who might be new, good morning. I tried this a little bit earlier this week with just YouTube. And I also, to add to the complexity, as if I'm not trying to do too much at once, weird. Also tried to do it on Linux box on Ubuntu, which, again, I have now given up. As you can see, I'm using Windows 11 again. I tried using Linux again, spent tens of hours trying to get things to work on Ubuntu. It worked, I think, for one stream, and then it doesn't work. So Ubuntu is not ready for prime time for me for my use case. So I'm back to Windows. So I also had to uninstall Podman on my streaming box because it caused hypervisor blue screen of death errors. So I had to remove Podman so that I could actually do things. So if anybody has any ideas or during the stream have figured out how to get the stream on LinkedIn to show on a it's not even, let me see. So I can't, they need to work on this shit, because it's like I'm trying to figure out where to go for, hey, Brian, there's not even a notification. It's like, hey, Brian's streaming now, or anything like that on LinkedIn. It's like, yeah. So, I mean, maybe after I get done with the stream, it'll be like, hey, Brian did a thing here. So I am kind of liking the fact that it is working over here. Let me see what's going on. Oh yeah. See there. Yeah. Let's refresh. And I know that there's a ton of plugins for, oh, there I am. Okay. I'm on and I'm live. There might be a different delay between one or the other, in that case. So yeah. I didn't. Well, I didn't know LinkedIn did streaming either. Walt, I had gone in and saw that. If you go into OBS, when you go into the settings, it'll give you like a drop down list of things that you can look at. Let me see if I can pull up the settings without it crashing my machine. Come on, baby. There we go. Okay, will it show up over here? Oh, okay. LinkedIn won't. But when you go into streams, it'll give you like a list of things, like things you can go and check out on there. And apparently there are dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of streams, different systems that do streaming, from like, third-party meta restreamers like Restream.io, and others. There was one I saw this morning called like Icecaster, something like that. But it seems like that there's no shortage of those, as anybody can set up a streaming server, or I mean, technically, I guess I could run my stuff through Plex as well, and stream through a Plex server. The upside is my frames per second hasn't dropped on anything that I've done. So yeah, that's kind of cool. So, for those of you new on the LinkedIn, let me tell you a little bit about what this is about. We do information security. I've been information security for about 20 years now. IT for 20 plus. Navy veterans. I learned a lot of my IT stuff in the military before patch management was called patch management. You just fixed all the things, and yeah, so for about the past 9 years, did the BreakSec podcast. Is breaking down security podcast, as you can see on the icon up here, and I started this in February on Twitch because I was like, maybe podcasts are old and busted, and I feel like I've been doing the same thing over and over again, and just wanted to do something a little different. Some content management. It was always kind of difficult to, I helped set up ice casting for an NPR station in the late 90s, early 2000s. Oh, that's very cool. Yeah, I'd seen ice casting. I had been streaming. Let me see I think I moved to Austin in 2009, and that's when I stopped listening to terrestrial radio. I was streaming everything on my phone, so that was nice. For those of you who are like, damn, he clears his throat a lot. That is I don't know if it's a nervous tick or whatever it is, but I have noticed that when I'm doing things that make me uncomfortable, I tend to clear my throat quite a bit. So I don't have COVID or an upper respiratory infection. It's just a thing that I do, and I've noticed that I do it when I'm a little nervous. So, which is more often than not when I'm doing this. Makes me uncomfortable. I don't like speaking in public, yet I do a stream. So, it is what it is. So, we talk about information security. We've got some regular folks who like to show up every so often. We have some lurkers. We have CPO Parker. Walt comes and hangs out. Walt's been a good friend of ours for a while, even for our local meetup here in CSEC East, which, Walt, I need to announce that on Meetup. So I'm going to be looking at doing something, probably in Bellevue, maybe Forever or something like that, one of the FA joints in Bellevue. So that'll be next week on the 7th, I think. What's that? Where's my calendar? There it is. Yeah, the 7th. So, no, I'm sorry, not the 7th. I'm looking at, the 4th. Ooh, that might be a little early. Okay, yeah, I'll announce it as soon as I'm done with the stream here. So, yeah. Yeah, so we do information security stuff. I was looking up some news here. I actually got this off of a DFIR Discord. We go through a little news. I like to do some topics. I like to do stuff that's fun. So I'm going to be in the next year probably not doing every stream on information security. I did start up in previous streams a Golang discussion. So we may learn a little bit about Golang. because it's as we've heard in previous audio or articles, that Go is the new malware du jour platform language for malware, because it's easily executable, or it's easily cross-platform capable, and it supports Linux and Windows. So Go programming is something that I've kind of wanted to learn and go through with. So I figure we'll go through some of the tutorials for Go. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, which has been the problem that I've had with a lot of languages. I try to learn them, and it's like, what am I going to do with it? So I have no idea. I'm sure something good will happen of it. But yeah, ideally we'll learn together. So if you are interested in learning Golang in the new year, as long as everybody is not completely bored of it, we'll keep poking around on it and make it happen. I'll be using Visual Studio Code. What the hell? Okay, that's why my that's why my there we go. All right. Fixed my lights. We'll be using Visual Studio Code. I want to use GitHub to put my stuff up in there, but I don't know if that's actually going to be doable. I'm not a developer, so learning that is going to be a new challenge as well, as if I don't take on enough stuff. So, yeah. So this article I found online, they say, and this is something that we've heard for a while now, where people are buying insurance as part of their risk management. The four ways of doing risk is, you just ignore it, hoping it'll go away. You transfer the risk, which is what insurance is doing. You mitigate the risk. Those are the only really three that I think matter. I think, 4 ways to mitigate risk. You can avoid it, reduce it, or mitigate it, transfer, or accept it. Okay, so avoiding it is the same as accepting it, in my opinion, because if you are avoiding it, you recognize that it's a risk, you recognize that there's a problem, but you don't care, right? Or you assume that the avoidance and acceptance for me is you're going to if it happens, it happens. Avoiding risks. It feels like, in this case, avoiding means, like, for me, it feels like you're trying to duck out on doing something. You're not being responsible with the risk. Say, they're trying to avoid risks in specific areas. Avoiding risk is an easy answer. Don't break the law. Following the guidelines they establish, you avoid risks, fines, or defenses. Okay, so they're considering avoiding risk in terms of following guidelines and stuff, but they're not. Avoiding risk is not ducking risk. It's not. You're actually doing what is necessary to get rid of the risk. So if you can't avoid it, then you're going to reduce it. You're going to reduce understanding activities, high likelihood of occurring. Back in the day, we used to call it qualitative versus quantitative risk analysis. I don't know if anybody does that anymore. It's, maybe certain industries do that. So it will be something where you're going to, find ways to reduce risk by implementing a technology or, changing something in your workflows so that you're mitigating those risks. Transferring risk is, like, we're going to be talking about insurance here. They say that as cyber attacks grow, they will become uninsurable. So they're saying that the CEO of Zurich Insurance, which is in, of course, Switzerland, larger threats to insurers than systemic issues like pandemics or climate change. I think the problem is a lot of companies think, well, we have insurance, it's almost like a car accident or something. If I have a car accident, the insurance will pay my and pay off my damages. The problem is there's a huge difference between a $100,000 vehicle and a $500 million breach that could have been prevented if they had done their due diligence. I think that's probably the biggest issue there, is the due diligence part. Okay. So yeah, you end up with a lot of organizations who also feel like when they transfer the risk is no longer their problem. I've seen that a lot where I work. I won't tell you where I work. Some of you know where I work, but others don't. When you put it on a third party, and it doesn't matter the third party, right? When you transfer a risk, because in this case, when you transfer it to an insurance company, you're assuming that the insurance company is going to be like, I don't know, I don't want to call it dumb, but it's going to be like, we don't care, something bad happened, we're going to pay you off. Kind of like with the car accident thing. In this case, insurance companies are like, we need to, it's almost like a reverse investment kind of thing, right? The insurance company is now invested in making sure that the company is not going to do what is wrong in some cases. And I think that is something that many organizations who assumed that they could just get away with, insurance is not thinking about. When you have asked an insurance company to cover your risks against breach or what have you, the insurance company doesn't want to lose $500,000 or $500 million, or how much ever it costs in Bitcoin to ransom, unransom your data. It feels like that a lot of organizations are now going to be beholden, whether they like it or not, to requirements from insurance companies. So it's almost like a new compliance framework, right? Instead of PCI, you're going to have, well, if you want to have the protection of $500 million of, insurance for your company, you're going to have to work for it, which is kind of funny because if the insurance company won't insure the company because they're doing X, Y, and Z, and the company's like, well, we want the insurance because we have X, Y, and Z risk, or we're in a company or in an industry that is prone to breach. They're going to have to mitigate some risk anyway to get insured by the insurance companies, and we've seen that. I think that there's been a couple of lawsuits where insurance company was like, you didn't do your due diligence, you just went ahead and expected us to just pay out dumbly, and that's not going to happen. So showing due diligence, showing that they actually have controls in place, I think is probably good. And I would love to see more insurance companies push back on companies that just assume that, well, we can transfer risk away and it's all good and you don't have to worry about it. There's other third-party risk that you transfer away too. If you have a product or you have a service and you're relying on a third party to do some part of it, like an integration, or you have an organization who is supplying hardware or libraries or something like that, and you're like, well, we can't protect against that. That's going to be the third parties. Third parties are going to be responsible for doing that. And it could be, a legal requirement. It could be an agreement or contractual agreement, not a legal requirement necessarily, but it could be a compliance requirement that, anybody who decides to integrate with you has to do blah, blah, blah. Because we have to show that there's controls in place, that there's the ability for them to protect you. And I think we've seen a lot of that with third-party breaches, where I'm sure the Targets and the Home Depots of the world, we really need to have a third-party breach that is more current than Target and Home Depot, but ones that invite third parties in, and the third parties are actually the ones who got breached. the parent party, or the first party in this case, that is integrating or working with that third party, is assuming or taking it upon themselves to assume that the third party is secure because they signed some contractual agreement or what have you. Um, I see. Okay. I find it interesting that we trust our third parties like we do, where we just assume, well, they signed a contract and everything is good. Go ahead. Okay, just checking to make sure I don't have any comments on YouTube. I'm working all of that logistical bits out, and I'm sure that there's a chat on LinkedIn that I don't have either. But so, I mean, we're transferring risk all the time, right? But we assume that, and I don't know if it's incorrect, but we're assuming that those third parties have our best interests at heart. It's almost like I give my unlocked phone to someone that I don't know, or I give my unlocked phone to someone with the idea that they're going to treat the relationship the same way that we're going to treat them. And I think a lot of organizations don't do that. It's interesting. So in this case, it's kind of a reverse relationship with the insurance companies. The insurance companies are assuming that the companies are going to do what, do their due diligence, do what they're supposed to do to make that happen. They're mentioning, the research company here is mentioning healthcare organizations, which we know are notoriously insecure. I think the only reason that they call themselves, they only treat themselves the way they do is because we're saving lives. And I use quotey fingers when I say saving lives, is because that's how they justify not doing a lot of things that would normally be considered security. We don't patch this thing because it could break and we have high availability requirements, or, because we're saving lives. Healthcare, education security is the same way. If we invest in security, that's one less teacher we have, or if we invest in security, that's just one other issue that we come up with, that we can't, teach your children or whatever. So, as they've shown here, the number financial institutions have fallen prey to cyber attacks, as well as payments reported November 1st. The number of ransomware attacks reported by financial institutions was double the number that occurred in 2020. Is it because they doubled from 2021 because they were forced to report them? Is it because they found that there was actually an attack that occurred in their organization? Well, I guess ransomware attacks means that you were having disrupted operations, so that makes sense. I was just wondering, maybe there's some kind of legal requirement that they now have to start mentioning it to the payments organization, or they've been found out, or the media is reporting on them more, that kind of thing. So, all right. So let us go over to, let's go check out Feedly and see what's on the feed here in the last couple of days. Let's see. Threat intelligence. I like me some threat intelligence. There's a lot of great write-ups out there from a lot of different companies talking about IOCs and things. Let me see. Growing threats. Avast expects cybercrime scamdemic. Oh my God, really? That's a word? Somebody created a word called scamdemic. Why am I clicking on this? I don't want to click on that. I don't want to read this. Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'm going to be reading it then. The one thing is, I haven't seen a lot of. It's usually around this time where we have holidays that we have really bad vulnerabilities, or we have a breach breaches come out. I haven't seen anything like that in the past couple days. Let me see. Anything in the last Lockbit Group claims Port of Lisbon? Okay. Yeah, I haven't heard anything in the news that, is really bad. Update Android right now, blah blah blah, scary remote execution flaw. Okay, so that one came out. Scripts, okay. So okay, I'm not going to read cybercrime predictions. Okay, that's not going to happen. I don't want to read about cybercrime predictions or whatever, or growing, trend, forecast, blah blah bullshit. Click clickbait. Yeah, ransomware seems to be what everybody's talking about these days. The one thing that I have seen, and in the that one's cyber pipelines and cables under threat of attack. That one makes sense. I mean, it's infrastructure, valuable infrastructure under submarine sensors, data cables, situated in Norway, ocean, underwater sensors monitoring ecological balance, submarines listening to the Russia's northern fleet. Yep. 2.6 miles of cable suddenly disappeared in 2021? Really? Huh. Interesting. When the damage was inspected, it was found the data link had been neatly severed. Interesting. Well, it's a lot of cable there that is necessary. No, do not show notifications. Thank you very much. Yeah, I think, attacks on infrastructure and pipelines. Not only are we seeing attacks on pipelines and undersea cables, but here in the United States, we're also seeing attacks on power substations. Attacks. Yeah, so we actually got hit. Here was one in North Carolina. People are attacking. I'm assuming this is domestic terrorism. Russia, of course, attacking other things. We had one, I'm in the Seattle area, but I think we had one near Tacoma or in Kitsap County, which is near Olympia in that area, attacked and was damaged. Yeah, see, we 6 times in November and December, Christmas Day. There were 4 substations vandalized in Washington State, cutting power to 14,000 customers. It's I'm assuming it's to spread, terror and inconvenience. I wouldn't. It's a different kind of terror. It's not the terror you would think of, like where you're, flying a plane into a building kind of terror. But it is a damage to businesses, it's a damage to people. It's if you're a computer center or have a large warehouse and you're dependent on electricity to do things, this cut on power for 14,000 customers could be you. Yeah, this is the one that got the day after Christmas. So, Pierce County, not Kitsap County, near Tacoma, right? They were cutting power to homes and businesses. I mean, God's damn you, fucking USA Today. So yeah, they, as somebody mentions, I think in this interview, they're not monitored sometimes. There's no, see one of the locks on the fence. It's not hard to do. Some of these are in fairly remote areas where police and law enforcement aren't available. So, I mean, it's hard to wonder if these are targeted or not, but it seems like that there is a concerted effort across the country to do these things. And it seems like there's going to be, there needs to be more policing, or at least some kind of monitoring with, surveillance, to make sure that people get caught. And it'll be interesting to see what comes out of that. But yeah, I mean, we already had enough problems with weather causing power outage. I think we had a power outage, was it Tuesday and Wednesday this week? This week being the 28th, 29th. We actually had power out for almost a day up here in our area near the Cascades. Just the wind. The wind was enough to damage whatever transfer lines that were there. So, you sons of bitches. All right. So, yeah, I'm hoping that since this is now a federal thing, they're looking into the attacks. The FBI is, of course, not going to share what information they have, but yeah, domestic extremists. I could almost assume that. But yeah, any way you can spread terror is going to be something that criminals and bad guys are going to use, and thankfully these are federal, I think, so we'll be able to get them through that. So, anybody have any questions? Any comments? How's the holiday been going on for everybody? So for those of you who've joined up late, I'm streaming this both on LinkedIn and YouTube. I don't know how to see it on YouTube. So we'll see what happens there. No comments yet. I'm hoping that I don't have to actually be playing the video for that to show up on YouTube for those channels. If you are chatting inside of the YouTube channel, then I apologize. But yeah, what's he trying to put on his best Red October kind of thing? I don't know. It's hard to, unless you actually have cameras on the cables themselves underwater, it's going to be hard to, figure out where you're going to do that. You would almost have to be watching via air or have assets out in the ocean following along and checking things. Of course, if you have submarines underwater, it's going to be harder to see as well. So, yeah. Let me see. Any other news that came across the wires that I didn't know about? Let's see. Let's see. Lockbit claims group on Port of Lisbon. So this is another Port of Lisbon, of course, would be. This is another infrastructure attack. Ransomware listed Portugal's Port of Lisbon's data just after authorities confirmed there was an attack. Wow, they hit him on Christmas Day. Ouch. Okay, so that's interesting. So does that mean they already had access? Because most ransomware you hear of is usually user clicks on something or gets phished. Credentials have been leaked, so they must have either waited until they knew nobody was going to be there on Christmas Day to attack people, or see a message, or they, somebody was actually working that day and they got sent an email, or it was just a good time to start that. So, in a message posted today, its hack and leak site a day after the attackers reported Lockbit claims stolen all data belonging to Port of Lisbon, financial reports, budgets, personal data of customers, as well as mail correspondence of the staff. So they pretty much owned everything up, including mail servers, any kind of shared drives. They gave the authorities a deadline until 18 January, $1.5 million US, or they'll destroy the data. Okay, further threatened to leak the exfiltrated data if the Port of Lisbon failed to respond within the given deadline. Third largest port in Portugal. Huh, okay. Has 5 cruise ship docks, also the most accessed port in Europe. Huh, it is the most accessed port in, well, that would make sense. Everything coming east across the Atlantic would hit it first. It would be one of the first ones to get hit. First one where ships would dock, not hit. The port's website is down. Lockbit is a prolific ransomware group that's been active since late 2019 and often considered the winner of the contest to succeed Conti. Okay, so Lockbit ransomware. Oh, here's an article from Kaspersky about it. So one thing you'll find out is I like to put copious amounts of links when I'm looking at things. And actually, I probably should have added these links. None of these organizations are. There we go. There we go. Once I figure out how to add links, having to copy and paste in multiple spots is probably going to be fun, but we'll see. It's interesting. I'm using Chrome again after a bit of a hiatus from it, and they have different profiles now, at least in the dev build, which I find interesting. I've got multiple logins, of course. Oops. I already put that one in there. God damn it. Okay. HTTPS go.dev. There we go. One of the things that, for those of you who watch me on Twitch regularly, you know, I've almost gotten over the fact that if something goes pear-shaped, I don't stress out too much over it, which is something that I think has probably kept me from like being in public speaking or speaking at conferences. I'm going to try to get better at that. What I'd like to do is to have a better way of streamlining projects, not jumping from subject to subject too often. But yeah, so trying to work that out and trying to get a more like streamlined and orderly progression through certain topics. So, but as we've seen on this stream, somebody will ask a question in chat and I'll just head off in that direction because I want to be very customer focused and stream friendly. So how does Lockbit ransomware work? It's considered by many authorities to be part of the Locker Goga and Mega Cortex malware family. This simply means that it shares behaviors with these established forms of targeted malware. As a quick explanation, we understand these attacks are self-spreading, so they're within an organization rather than requiring manual direction. Okay, so once they've gained a foothold, it like spreads, like, targeted rather than spread in a scattershot fashion like spam malware. Okay. So the idea is when somebody is using this, they're wanting to get into that particular organization. It's not a spray and pray kind of thing. And they use similar tools to spread like PowerShell and SMB, server message block. Most significant is its ability to self-propagate. They used to call it wormable. I don't know if wormable and self-propagation is the same. I would probably consider them in the same type of family or similar, but we'll leave that up to the people who actually do threat intelligence. This makes it unique from other ransomware attacks. It's driven by manually living in the network, sometimes for weeks, to complete recon and surveillance. After the attacker has manually infected a host, finds other accessible hosts, connecting them to infected ones, and shares the infection using a script. This is completed and repeated entirely without human intervention. Well, that would make sense. I mean, you would want it to spread inside the host or inside the network without you needing to be inside. Lockbit attacks can be understood in 3 stages: exploit, infiltrate, and deploy. Okay. Stage 1 exploits weaknesses in a network. So that's like, social engineering, like phishing. Attackers impersonate trusted personnel to request access credentials, right? Lockbit has made it into a network, prepares the system to release the encrypting payload. Infiltrate deeper to complete attack setup if needed. From this point forward, Lockbit directs all activity independently. It's programmed to use what were known as post-exploitation tools to get escalation of privileges to attack to achieve an attack-ready level of access. It also routes through access already available via lateral movement to vet for target viability. I think this is why, I don't know, for 3-4 years, we were trying to get rid of local admin on boxes. Because if you have local admin on boxes, obviously you can do things like this. If you have access to everything via root, then you can, do other things and, own up that box, gain access to all the data on it. It's at this stage, Lockbit will take any preparative actions before deploying the encryption portion of the ransomware. This includes disabling security programs and any infrastructure that could permit system recovery. So they'll shut off backups. They might infect your backups and then shut them off. They'll shut off any EDR that's available. Windows Defender, your CrowdStrikes, your Carbon Blacks, your maybe file integrity monitoring services, anything that might watch your registry for changes that might be problems there. So like I said, I am testing this, so I need to go and look at my, oh, wait, there it is. Okay. Still at 60 frames a second. That's badass. All right. Once, of course, now they're deploying it, the encryption payload, once the network has been prepared, Lockbit to be mobilized. Lockbit doesn't need much to complete this stage. Well, sure, because at this point, all of the ingredients, your mise en place, if you're a chef or a cook, your mise en place is already there. You have all the ingredients in a nice little bundle. You can just start throwing them in the bowl and, cooking in this case, or deploying your evil shite. So, ransomware will begin its propagation across machines it can touch. Lockbit, yes, single system unit with high access can issue commands to other network units to download Lockbit and run it. So, makes sense. Here's the Lockbit threats. Did I post this in? Yes, I did. Okay. What the? Oh. So there's a .abcd extension. The original version named files with ABCD extension name. Additionally, it includes a ransom note with demands and instructions. .lockbit is variant number 2. So .lockbit. It's almost like you don't know what ransomware you've got. Oh, wait, it's got a .lockbit extension. So that's the one that is dealing with. So there's a third version, a third variant of this. It's no longer requires downloading the Tor browser in its ransom instructions. Instead, it sends its victims to an alternate website via traditional internet access. Well, that would be painful enough as it is. So you've been ransomwared. Variant 2 says, well, to pay us, you have to download the Tor browser and do all this stuff. This is let me see. This is why I admire in some cases ransomware actors like they do, because one, they're very customer focused, right? They want to make sure that you get your data back or they get paid. So they're very customer focused. They want to make it as easy as possible for you to pay. A lot of organizations already don't have a stockpile of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. They don't know how to buy cryptocurrency. They don't, and then on top of it being in crisis mode, you have to figure out how to use Tor browser. You have to figure out what you need to do to make it work. You're going to go to some, long URL, which is going to be shady enough as is because it'll be on the dark web. And some organizations may completely balk on that, right? And they want their money. The ransomware actors want their money. So variant 3, of course, is it's going to be you're going to go to some kind of website, probably hosted on another compromised host somewhere, so that way there's no trail to them necessarily, or it's a little less of a trail. So makes it easier, instead of having to go to some kind of, weird, you might have to type it in. They actually have chat on some of them too. So, it's like, hey, you got any questions? Come chat with us. And, hey, welcome to your, I'll be your ransomware assistant today. So, I mean, I hate saying that because, it's a security professional. You never want to see ransomware being done by a company, but these organizations go out of their way to be as I don't know, business-like as possible for these things. So it's kind of interesting. Oh, looked like somebody named No Clue joined our party. I'm hoping that No Clue abides by our requirements for our social networking. So yeah, you can go and join us on our Discord. So they say recent revisions, Lockbit has enhanced more nefarious features such as negating administrative permission checkpoints. Lockbit now disables the safety prompts that users may see when an application attempts to run as an administrator. So like UAC on Windows, they block that. Or in Ubuntu, I don't know if Lockbit does it here, but another one would be like if you're in Linux and it asks you for sudo, like your little pop-up where it asks you to put your username in, they may have bypasses for that now. That's according to Kaspersky. I don't, they're able to disable those prompts. So also the malware is now set up to steal copies of server data. It includes additional lines of blackmail included in the ransom note. I wonder if that's like shadow volume copies of server data. Yeah. In case the victim does not follow instructions, Lockbit now threatens the public release of the victim's private data. That could be a fear tactic too, right? You don't know what data they got, but we've got all your private data. Do they have it? But you don't know. You can't prove a negative, right? So you don't know exactly what they've taken in some cases. Removal and decryption. With all the trouble Lockbit can cause, endpoint devices need thorough protection standards. Okay, great. Yes, this is where the this is the ad part here. Bullshit. So how to protect against them. Strong passwords should be implemented. Yeah. Passwords, whatever. Multi-factor auth. Yeah. Whatever. Assess and simplify user account permissions. Okay. Get rid of, least privileged. Okay. So I have been on a bit of it just seems like I don't know why, but the infosec people on Twitter and elsewhere are all about trying to force technology on their family members. I've had several posts where people are like, "Oh, this is, remember this is the season for getting all of your family members on password lockers." And password lockers are great for some people. The LastPass, of course, for those of you, I guess LastPass is probably one of those ones that has come up in the last few weeks. LastPass. So the LastPass disclosure that occurred, apparently there is copies of your passwords if you use LastPass that are in the wild. They managed to gain access to. Was that right? Yeah. Okay. So LastPass has your vaults, and they store copies of those with your passwords. So yeah, they've got those. They've hashed them. They've hashed them with the current password. So if you change your LastPass password, there's still backups of your password vault with your old, like really, really strong password vault password. So the only option you have is to change all of the passwords in your password vault, including your password vault password. And, it's kind of bad. LastPass is being gotten tore up. This was the breach that happened in August. I think we talked about a little bit on the stream here and on our podcast. They are saying that there's a lot of issues there, and password lockers aren't just password lockers anymore. People are putting all kinds of stuff in it. MFA seeds, if your MFA fails, then there's recovery codes you can put in for like GitHub or other sites like that. And, you know, people put credit card numbers in them. People put, you know, passport information. They put driver's license. I mean, this has now become not just a password locker, but a hodgepodge of all of your PII, PHI, anything that identifies you as you. So it's gone beyond just simple passwords for a lot of folks. I know I use it for recovery codes. I use it for password questions. So like sites that still use like recovery prompts, like, you know, what was your dog's middle name in 1985? You know, if you have a dog with a middle name in 1985, then that would be a valid password recovery request bit. So uh, there's people on Twitter like, oh, this is the season to force all of your family members to start using a password locker. And I was like, no. And the problem is, and this is where I probably have made some people unhappy. Um, I have family members that I have given up on getting them to adopt technology a long time ago. Because when I was a bit more, you know, militant, I would say is the word, about security, I would, you know, try to get my mother to do things like, you know, when the whole encrypted text messages thing was coming out. Hey, mom, you should get on Signal. Why? Because it's, you know, it's secure and it's encrypted and whatever. Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. Oh, why not? Don't you care about security? She didn't care. You know, getting in my family, it was, you know, they just don't do it. And getting my mother to adopt a password locker for a handful of sites that she goes to just doesn't make a lot of sense. My mother-in-law, you know, she goes to Facebook and she goes to God knows what other sites, but she has like 2 sites. And she doesn't need a password locker. You know, there's a lot of folks that don't need password lockers. You know, we used to joke, oh, you know, writing down your passwords is a stupid idea. Is it? I mean, I can write down my password on this piece of paper and store it right here in my office. Unless somebody gains physical access to my office, which is in my house on a small street in a small town in the middle of Washington State, they're not going to know the password. Whereas my LastPass passwords, which are stored in a cloud someplace I don't know about, probably an AWS instance or, you know, Azure instance, probably AWS. World Plus Dog could have access to those. And it's obvious with the LastPass stuff that World Plus Dog did get access to it. See, oh, yes, blah, blah, blah. I would argue that if my passwords ever got shared, if I had a, you know, complex, and this is just numbers. I think I was writing up an RPG character or something. If my passwords were breached and I had a 35 character password on here and somebody said, you know, why are you logging in to this? I can narrow it down to 2 people who live in my house plus 3 cats. That's, you know, I've reduced my risk by, I don't know, 7 billion people, 7 billion and change. I really think that a lot of us militant, or a lot of us people in infosec treat, I don't know, we go to the nth degree, right? And we shouldn't do that. And I think the LastPass is just one example of that. It's like, yeah, you know, oh, MFA is bad. Don't use SMS 2FA or whatever. As we've seen with other people who've tweeted this out, and this is not an original idea of mine, not everybody has access to technology that allows them to use MFA or have a YubiKey or what have you. And we need, I'm hoping that as we move along into 2023, that we will start thinking a little more, what is the word I'm looking for? Realistically about securing things in the office, in the business place, in the workplace. Yeah, you know what? Enable that MFA, enable that, TOTP, enable that YubiKey, enable all that stuff because those are legitimate use cases. And I would say, um, you know, those legitimate use cases uh, require that. But not every place needs to be Fort Knox. There, a forum that I visited twice in 2012, maybe I don't care about that password as much. Maybe I can get away with using a stupid password on that one. Um, I was a different person in 2012, but yeah, I have several, I would say a couple of hundred accounts in my one password that I use. And I should go through and purge some of these accounts because I don't use them anymore, or they were accounts that I've closed or whatever. Um, one of the things that people were like, "Oh, I've got to migrate from LastPass over to something else," and they're like, "Oh, well, use Bitwarden. Everybody should use Bitwarden because it's not managed by some big ugly company." And I'm like, "You're just adding more complexity to that." So, um, yeah, I'm going to figure out how to get the videos working, working on LinkedIn. Uh, you know, I want to get more people involved with the stream. I want to get more involvement from folks to Jeremy Gosney, really? Let me see. I know Mr. Gosney, one of the organizers of HushCon, a good person. Yeah. Anyway, so if you have any thoughts, I'm gonna go because it's 11:30 Pacific time on the last day of the holiday. I tend to try to stream on Tuesdays and Fridays, and we're definitely going to get Miss Berlin and Mr. Betcher, my co-hosts of the BreakSec podcast and Twitch stream, back on a regular basis. The holidays have been a little weird, so we're gonna make sure that happens. But I want to believe that we can do a better job of securing things by just keeping things in perspective and keeping things realistic. Uh, Not everybody needs a password locker. A simple, people make jokes about the password books that are out there. It's like books for passwords. You know what? For some people, that's a legitimate security control. When I was in the Navy, um, we had passwords on a piece of paper inside a safe that was, protected. You could have a lockbox or something in your office with passwords. I mean, my friend Andrew Callett did a talk at a conference about what happens if you got ran over by a bus. How difficult is that for somebody to get access to your accounts if they don't have access to your password locker or know all of the places that are doing it? And he advocated writing down your password to your password locker and putting it in a safe place, like a safety deposit box or something that somebody knows about in case of emergency, a break glass function. Why should this be any different? If I only have 4 or 5 websites that I go to, like, relatives of mine, or, maybe you're a CEO of a company and you only go to a handful of sites. Maybe that's a legitimate thing. Or maybe you could, have a something on a hardened device, that kind of thing. So I would love to hear your rants and ravings about, why everybody should be buying 1Password. And I look forward to the hate mail and stuff. So bds.podcast@gmail.com. You can join us on Discord, discord.gg/breaksec. It's let me see. No, I can't type for shit. Oh my god. Okay, that all wasn't me. BreakSec. discord.gg/breaksec. You can come join us on there. We got a lot of different channels. We've got a job board. We have a mental health discussion. I know this time of year's, not good for folks sometimes. So if you're enjoying the holidays without family, and that's how you cope, good on you. If you need some help, come reach out. We're always available. We have a lot of folks in our Slack and our Discords that can sympathize with you, I would imagine. So come and hang out, and you're not alone. If you have issues, with coping with various things around the holidays, you're not alone. So just want to let you know that. And there are people who can help sympathize with you. So, oh, my LinkedIn died. Oh, dang it. Okay, so see, it fails silently, and I didn't even know. So it says it's reconnecting, but yeah, maybe it's a certain amount of time. Maybe it only goes for an hour. It could be that. Let's start it again here. Error, failed to connect to stream. Oh, LinkedIn's down. Connecting. Yeah, we'll see. All right, so I'm going to continue trying to do this. I'm going to see what's up with those LinkedIn issues, and hope everyone has a good holiday. Don't drink and drive. Get an Uber, and we'll be back in the new year. So, anybody, like I said, has any comments, questions, or concerns? Feel free to reach out, because I want to be customer forward and focused. So, come check us out. Anyway, have a good holiday, and we'll see y'all next week. So have a good one. Talk soon. Bye.